Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and this is actually my first video on this channel, so if you clicked on it, I do appreciate you showing love early on with my journey here. But today we're going to be talking about the stock called Virgin Galactic AKA SPCE. And this is actually one that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, for at least the past week. I first invested in this stock back on February 6th, and then I kept investing almost every day until yesterday, and I've gotten some pretty solid gains so far out of it. I'll be telling you guys my whole process, what days I purchased, how many shares I purchased, and then how much I've made off of that so far. So we're going to start off by talking about today's growth. So today's growth alone, Virgin Galactic AKA Space gained 21.22% just today alone. And then in the after hours so far, it's gained 0.42%. And just to give you some further context, within the past 3 months, the stock has gained 196.91%, and within the past month, it has gained 101.82%. So as you can see, we are reaching Tesla levels of growth, and it's actually even more than Tesla. Just check this out. For example, within the past 3 months, Tesla has grown 128.15%, and within the past month, it has grown 46.99%. So as you can see, space has grown more than Tesla within this past year right here. And I feel like this has been a low-key stock that some people know about it, but some people also have no idea. I know on Wall Street Bets it's really popular for options, and everybody that did calls on this is going to be making tons of money probably, including some of my friends. The first person to really tell me about this stock was one of my good friends from college, and he kept talking about it so much to where it was almost like a meme back in like December and January, and I have to admit he was right. I finally jumped into it on February 6th, and so far I'm super happy. And to give you guys full disclosure, I currently own 312 shares with an average cost of $21.82. My equity in this stock is $8,985.60, and the portfolio diversity, basically what percentage of my portfolio is into this stock, is 14.09%. And now I'm going to give you guys a little history of when I started purchasing this stock, how much I started purchasing at the beginning, and then how much I started purchasing towards the end as well. So my first purchase of this stock was on February 6th, and I ordered 22 shares at a limit price of $18.42, equaling a total of $405.13. On February 6th, once again, I ordered another 32 shares at a total of $592.48. On February 10th, I ordered 50 more shares at a total of $1,042.19. Then on February 11th, I ordered another 21 shares for $449.19. Once again on February 11th, I ordered another 9 shares for $194.58. On February 12th, I ordered another 43 shares for $997.17. Then on February 12th is when I made a big move into the stock, and I ordered 130 shares for a total of $3,009.50. And to explain my logic for this one, in April, I'm going to have to pay self-employment taxes for my job. I also own another YouTube channel that I make decent money with. And so I had some money in savings that I was holding back to pay on taxes for April. And I sort of made a risky play with this one, and I don't really recommend this to anyone. This was kind of risky. It was basically just a gamble. I had some pretty solid faith in this stock, so I decided to take $3K out of that savings that I had saved for taxes and to put it into this stock. And I was hoping that by the time it was tax time, that I would have gained a pretty decent amount to add into that and pay towards taxes, and then I would have a little bit extra left over because of me putting it into the stock early. So luckily that has paid off so far, and I've earned a pretty good amount, more than what I put in since February 6th. But I will say that was kind of a gamble and not really financially smart, but I did have a lot of faith that this stock would still keep growing within the next week or so. So that was one of the main reasons that I did that. I still had a little bit left in savings. I didn't want to put it all in there, but I thought, all right, I'll just throw in $3K and hope that this increases. But I had some pretty good faith because I looked at the history of the stock and researched it a little bit. So it wasn't a complete gamble or anything like that, but it was definitely risky. So that's where that $3K came in. Now, obviously, after I saw the growth with the $3K On February 13th, I put another order in for 5 shares for $118.87 total. And so February 13th was the last day that I put any more money into space. I just can't afford to put any more in it right now. And considering that the value of the stock is so high, I don't even know if I would put any more in even if I did have the money. I would probably wait for a dip if I still wanted to put money into the stock. So now that we've talked about my full purchase history for this stock, I'm going to tell you guys how much I've gained so far since February 6th. And I'm pretty happy about this, to be completely honest. Today's returns alone, the 21.72%, I gained $1,603.68. That's crazy. And then the total return is 31.96%, which is $2,176.48. And it's crazy to think about this, but that 32% is a little over 3 times the annual average S&P 500 percentage. So it would take me 3 years to earn that amount if the stock market was going well. That's a pretty solid gain, especially considering I did that in 8 days. And I'm going to be completely honest, I'm kind of tempted to sell sometime soon because I feel like this is almost too good to be true. I feel like it's kind of like a Tesla situation when Tesla hit its peak and some people were buying Tesla at its peak of like $950 per share. And then a lot of people sold. I know Graham Stephan sold, Jeremy from Financial Education, he sold and then rebought more shares on a dip, which was super smart. But I can't help but think myself, is it a good idea to sell sometime soon? I'm sort of afraid to see if there's a dip on Monday, but I'm still trying to decide whether I should sell this because I feel like these gains are already really good and I don't need to get too greedy. As you know, the famous quote by Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy. I feel like that's important to consider because I am up right now. That's an extra 2K I didn't have 8 days ago. That's pretty crazy, 2K in 8 days. But you do have to realize short-term capital gains rates, you're gonna, it's a lot less beneficial than long-term capital gains in terms of taxes. So you do have to consider that as well. You're gonna have to pay a lot more in taxes on these than if you waited a year. But anyways, now that we've talked about my gains, my earnings, what I've purchased so far, I'm going to be discussing the risks about this stock and then also some potential benefits as well. And to begin, I think one of the biggest risks of this stock is that as long as you hold this stock, especially if you're a nervous person like me, I'm sort of a nervous person. I do have a high risk tolerance, I will admit that, but I am sort of an anxious person to where I feel like this is different from just having a high risk tolerance. This is something else. Before I jump into the risks, I just realized I forgot to mention something. I was thinking I already recorded this, but I did a whole video like 20 minutes ago and realized I didn't press the record button. But anyways, I want to explain what SPACE is. SPACE, aka Virgin Galactic, is a space tourism company where their goal is to build 5 spaceships by 2023, and they plan on charging $250,000 per ticket, and they can take someone to space where they can look over the Earth and all that stuff, but it's going to cost $250,000 per ticket, and their goal is to have 5 spaceships by 2023, and I think one of the biggest reasons the stock went up so much today is because they transported their spaceship to New Mexico, and in New Mexico is Spaceport, and that's where they're going to have all of their spacecrafts. I think Spaceport is a state-funded facility, and Virgin Galactic is one of the first people to utilize it. And I actually just watched a video about how they have a lot of tourism places around there, and a lot of the locals are actually angry that it's taken so long to get this business kickstarted with Virgin Galactic, and a lot of the locals don't have faith in it just because they've seen so many companies say they're going to start opportunities here, and the opportunities never actually happen. So the locals are quite skeptical of Virgin Galactic. And I do think that video was quite interesting. You got to see the whole facility. They showed off the whole facility and things like that. So if you're interested in seeing what Spaceport looks like, you'll find it on the YouTube search. Just type in Virgin Galactic and it'll show up. So like I said, it's $250,000 per ticket, and that does limit the customer base. This is more aimed towards rich people rather than just a full customer base of everyone. And I think that is a risk to consider as well. They're limiting their customer base just because it's so expensive. Normal people are not going to be able to afford to do this. And they do have a reasonable amount of people on the list right now, including people like Justin Bieber. I think the number is in the hundreds. So that's a guaranteed solid amount of money if the first few launches go well. So that's a guaranteed reasonable amount of money if the first few flights go well and they're able to serve all of those customers on the waiting list. But that is sort of like the medium risk with this company and this stock, is that the customer base is mostly rich people. It doesn't serve like a wide customer base. It's just those people that have a lot of money to spend, especially just a random $250,000 sitting around to spend on a flight. So that is important to consider. They're sort of limited on the amount of people they can serve unless people decide to take multiple flights for $250,000 each. So that is important to consider compared to other companies like Tesla, which are making it sort of affordable for almost every class in society. I feel like especially with the Cybertruck, I expect it to be so much more than what it actually costs. So I feel like they're making that reasonable for everyone. And as you can see, the goals are very different when you compare Tesla to Virgin Galactic. But moving on to one of the biggest risks with this company, in my opinion, and I'm like sort of an anxious person. Sometimes like I'm a nervous person. And I will say that I do have a high risk tolerance when it comes to investing. If I have faith in something, I can easily let it drop 10 to 20% and hold, or buy more when it drops that percent if I do have faith in the company long term. However, I feel like it's different with Virgin Galactic because at any point in time, let's pretend in 2023 they have their 5 spaceships built and they're starting to serve customers. Even if everything is going well, at any point in time, if you're a major shareholder of this company, or even if you just own a few $100 to $1,000, you're always going to be thinking, okay, what if this crashes? And if this does crash, my shares are going to tank in value and I'm going to lose a lot of money potentially, and it may not ever recover. And you have to realize if they start serving a lot of customers, there's always that potential possibility that something could go wrong with one of those flights and there could be a fatality or there could be multiple fatalities. And not only is that a bad thing for your portfolio and your stocks, but obviously that's a bad thing that someone is dying as well. Like, that's a terrible situation. But if you're thinking about this financially as well, you have to realize that there's always that risk with this stock compared to investing in things such as, Microsoft. There's not going to be any freak accident fatality that Microsoft is going to be blamed for, that I can think of at least. Or even if you invest in something like VOO, an ETF, which basically mirrors the S&P 500 index, you don't have to worry about some freak accident being attributed to that stock and then your shares declining in value, as compared to something like Virgin Galactic, where that could happen. I mean, just look at bowling the past year or so. It's negative in percentage in growth. So even though there's a lot of potential with this stock, there's also a lot of risk as well. I think this is a high risk stock, and you have to be looking very, very long term when it comes to the evaluation of this thing. And to address whether this current price of this stock is accurate in terms of an evaluation, I do feel like there's a lot of hype around this stock, and that's one of the main reasons it's up so much right now. I think a lot of people believe there's a lot of potential with this stock, and there definitely is a lot of potential, but you do have to realize it's kind of similar to the Tesla situation where everyone got really hyped about the stock and it kept growing and growing and growing to ridiculous amounts. And then finally it drops back down when people started losing faith that it was worth that much. So they started selling and selling, and that's what caused it to drive down as well. So it does need to be considered that this stock could be a little bit overvalued right now just because people are getting hyped about it. And that's just someone that owns a lot in this stock. I think the hype is deserved just because of how much growth it has received, but you have to think about whether this is just a continuous cycle of the hype is because of the growth, and because of the growth there's more hype, and because of the hype there's more growth, and it just keeps going and going until it finally tanks down a little bit. So I do think that's something to consider right now, but when you really think about this stock, this is not just a long-term stock. It's obviously not a short-term stock. I think this is a very, very long-term stock. If you really want to go in and purchase a bunch of shares, you're going to have to looking at this like 10 to 20 years. But obviously, it can be a little bit of a short-term stock if you really think about it. I purchased on February 6th, and it's the 14th, and I've already gained 32%. So I guess it is kind of a short-term stock. But when you think about the concept of the stock, it's more of a long-term type of thing, like a very long-term type of thing. And the problem is there's so much that could happen between that amount of time that could cause shares to go down, and obviously shares could increase as well. But I feel like there's also one issue that I do have with this stock is I feel like there could be more ambition when it comes to the goals. Obviously, I know you can't just build spaceships at the snap of the finger just like that, It's not an overnight type of thing, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit more ambition when it comes to this company, especially with only 5 spaceships being built by 2023. I understand 5 spaceships is still a pretty good amount, but when you compare to other companies, to like Tesla, think about how much Elon Musk has streamlined Tesla and gotten vehicles out to everyone in such a fast amount of time. I wish Virgin Galactic had a little bit more ambition when it comes to like Tesla and Elon Musk and just how much he really wants to make things happen so fast, and he's very effective at doing so. I just wish that Virgin Galactic had this sort of ambition, and they do have ambition. Let's not forget that. They do have some ambition. I mean, they're one of the first people to be in this sort of business. You have Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company. It's basically kind of similar in space tourism. Then you have Elon Musk's SpaceX. It's a little bit more similar to like NASA. It's not really consumer focused, but it's still in that genre there. So Virgin Galactic is pretty innovative in the sense that they're one of the first space sector IPOs, and that they're one of the first people that really want to focus on space tourism, if not the first, that are currently public and are talking about their goals towards the future right now. So that is important to mention in terms of innovation, because they really are kind of the first public type of space tourism stock. And since we're now talking about potential competition like Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company, and then SpaceX, and there was an interview by CNBC that I watched on YouTube recently, and the interviewer asked CEO of Virgin Galactic named George Whitesides, and she sort of focused on the question of competition and asked him about how he feels about other companies such as SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' company Blue Origin, and how that plays a role in competition against his company Virgin Galactic. And I feel like he had a pretty good response when discussing this. He didn't really look at it as a competitive type of thing. He sort of discussed it as in there's going to be more customers than there are people able to serve, such as like open tickets. So he's basically saying that there's going to be more of a problem of oversaturation of customers rather than oversaturation of spots of availability from different companies that's going to lead to fierce competition between them. So he's basically thinking that all of the companies can work together and there's still going to be more customers than there are spots available. That's at least what I got from the interview. It seemed like he didn't really take a very competitive view to the other companies, which I did kind of like. He didn't really call out any of the other companies. He kind of just respected the companies and respected what they were doing. So I do kind of like the fact that he took that approach to it. And it's also important to mention that Virgin Galactic is more nearing on the space tourism public side compared to other companies like Blue Origin and especially SpaceX. They're not really focused on the consumer aspect of it, at least currently right now. So Virgin Galactic still has the leg up in that sense. So all in all, I just wanted to discuss a few points about this stock. And like I said, I'm still trying to decide on whether I should sell it soon. By soon, I mean within the next month or two. I may just see how it goes. And if I lose a little bit of money, that's just me learning lessons from the market. That's how it goes. Or I may decide to sell it soon. I just really have no idea when it comes to this. I've got to think about it a little bit longer. But I just wanted to discuss my position in this stock, what I think about it. And although I discussed a lot of the risks about this stock, I went in on it for a reason. I do have some faith in this stock right now, but I'm also the type of person who is cautious about things. So I can realize short-term potential in terms of like me getting short-term money from this stock. But I also need to realize important points of like, when should I maybe be cautious and just take my gains and get out? I feel like for people that aren't looking for short-term gains and are focusing on long-term gains, you have to be really invested in this company and have faith in it for the next 10 to 20 years, because that's what it's going to take to reflect a good value on this stock, I think. And I feel like right now, a lot of this price with this stock is really just speculative. It's people having a lot of blind faith, not necessarily blind faith, people having faith based on what they know so far and what they think could happen and how revolutionary they think this company will be. And so at the end of the day, it's just all up to how you feel about the stock. It's all up to how much risk you think there is with it. It's all up to how much benefits you think there are with it. I do think there's potential benefits as well. They're sort of pioneering the public space tourism sector, but I do think they have to be more ambitious. Now, I did hear something interesting about them talking about really fast jets. For example, you could fly to like China to Los Angeles or somewhere like that within 2 hours compared to a longer amount of time in a normal airplane. Now, if they could streamline that and make it to where you could get from places that normally take like 18 hours in an airplane to where they only take like 3 to 2 hours in a jet. Now, I think that would be a big deal because there are celebrities out there right now that are paying like $20,000 just for a private jet flight. So I feel like people would be willing to pay like $20,000 to $25,000 for a flight from Virgin Galactic that's going to get there somewhere super fast just because they need to get there for whatever they need to do. And if they have that money to do that and Virgin Galactic has that opportunity to let people do it, then I think that's potentially a big earner for Virgin Galactic, because a lot of these celebrities out there are willing to pay that much money to get somewhere fast because they have the money to spend. So if they can make it not just about taking trips to space, but also just taking us to other locations across this country in a very fast amount of time compared to normal flight hours, then I think that could really revolutionize the price of this stock and just the company as a whole and make it worth more, because they're doing multiple things and they're becoming a multifaceted company. And I think that's important. You see that in Tesla right now. They're not only focusing on just customer vehicles, but they're focusing on things such as the Tesla Semi, solar panels, and all of these other things, and becoming multifaceted. And I think that's very important when it comes to the long-term value of a company. So if Virgin Galactic could do something like that, or even talk about doing something like that, I think it would be much more worth considering. But as I said earlier, I'm just a shareholder in this company, and none of what I say in this video is financial advice. It's just my opinion, and I just wanted to share my thoughts about this stock. I think it's super interesting to talk about stocks and discuss these things with people, but this is not to be considered financial advice whatsoever. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I thought it was really interesting to see the growth with this stock within the past few months, and I just wanted to finally do a video on it and discuss my thoughts about it and how I feel towards it. So if you guys watched some of this and enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like. Like I said, I'm starting a new channel here where I'm going to be discussing anything to do with financial topics such as stocks, saving money. I have a lot of experience with employment on YouTube. For example, I have another channel with about 350,000 subs, and I've earned pretty decent money off of it, so I can talk about strategies for starting a YouTube channel as well, and just so many other financial topics. I just wanted to finally do a video on this. Hope you guys enjoyed. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you guys.